A look at what's going on. We have a beautiful day, obviously. Lots of sunshine, temperatures in the upper 80s for the afternoon today. But we've still got tidal flooding. Well, that is still pushed on in, and it's still left over. It's not going anywhere for a while. 4.6 minor tidal flooding coming up tonight at 10:14. And then nuisance tidal flooding really over the next 3 tides past that, and likely into Saturday and Sunday, because of the fact that Jose is just going to linger out into here. It's going to weaken a great deal, but it's still going to keep the tide up all the way on into the weekend. It'll tend to weaken and push back to the west, perhaps even making landfall somewhere near Delaware Bay, but as a weak situation, and that would be toward the beginning or middle of next week. Hurricane Maria, that's a strong one. However, the latest forecast models have got it a little bit weaker than what we expected in terms of the forecast. We move on in and show you where this thing has been. It's been through St. Croix and, of course, all the way on through the island of Puerto Rico. Here's what's going on with it. Again, it moved on through St. Croix, the eye wall of that thing, and then moved on through Puerto Rico. It fell apart a little bit because it's a little mountainous island territory. It's a U.S. territory and U.S. citizens. Now it should start to regain a little bit of strength and head on up to the east of the Caicos and Turks, right on into there, and certainly well to the north of the Dominican Republic. Here's what's going on with the storm. 5 o'clock update. 110-mile-an-hour winds moving to the northwest at 12 miles an hour. Now, the forecast doesn't have it re-strengthening a great deal. 110-mile-an-hour winds, still the same as it is now at 2 o'clock in the morning. By 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, a little bit stronger, 115-mile-an-hour winds. By 3 o'clock in the morning, late tomorrow night, 120-mile-an-hour winds. 120-mile-an-hour winds by Friday afternoon, east and northeast of the Turks and Caicos. There's where things are by Saturday afternoon, 115-mile-an-hour winds. And there's where it is by Sunday. It's weakened a little bit more, and weakened a little bit more than that right on into here. Now, the question is, does it shoot this gap between Hatteras and Bermuda? That's going to be the real big question. You'll note this cone widens on out. If it stays again out to sea, great. That'd be terrific. But we want to take a look at a couple of forecast models. Of course, they've got Jose up into here, but that just basically falls apart over the next several days. Here's where things are. Timing is different, but it's basically got things on offshore. But the thing about this is, with this storm being offshore, let's say on Wednesday, it could still create some tidal problems for us, and it would likely be a much weaker storm. High pressure is off to the east, but is weak. It's weak as it moves into the central Atlantic. High pressure is off to our west. It's strong, and it's got a cold front. So as of Wednesday, but a big question mark, it looks like it could bump it on out to sea and bump it on off to the northeast with the weakness here and the strength moving in from the west. So we'll want to watch out. That's one scenario in terms of what it could do. Likely a weaker storm by the time it gets here. Great uncertainty remains. A weak Maria, though, could mean a higher tide. The thing about this is, I'm remembering back to Isabel, for example, and Isabel was a category, I don't remember, a strong category 4 storm at one point, but it weakened by the time it got into our part of the world, but it had a lot of tide, a bulge in the ocean really out ahead of it that carried very far on out ahead of it. And so it's a very strong storm, and that's what's going on with Maria right now, but it pushes that surge out ahead of it, so we could see a higher tide surge coming up ahead of the storm. So we want to watch out for that coming up next week. 84, 82, 82, 83 on Sunday. Beautiful weather in which to watch this storm roll on in, but where does it move? Again, you'll want to watch each day.